One evening in Dallas of 2061, Debbie and Carrie are having a discussion about time travel.
You want us to go back in time and change our own history? How?
You remember when we were attending the Green family reunion in Oklahoma City in 2029? While we were gone, Pete Jensen broke into our home that we shared with Richard's two gay fathers, Charles Mackenzie and Michael Jefferson, and Jensen killed them both. Both our son and Charles' niece Inica were traumatized by that event, because they witnessed it happening and barely avoided being killed themselves. That horrible event affected all of us. I just think all our lives would be better if those murders had been prevented.
All right, let's ask James for permission to take the USS Sandy on this mission.
Debbie, are you sure about this? Saving that gay couple would generate an alternate timeline, and there is no guarantee that events in the new timeline would really be better than the one we are in now. And would our own existence be wiped out? Wouldn't you and Carrie be committing suicide?
I don't think so. I think this current timeline would still exist and we would live in it, but in the new timeline there would be new versions of me, Carrie and the rest of you. I am curious as to what would happen if Charles Mackenzie and Michael Jefferson live on to help me and Carrie raise Richard and Annika.
All right. Take the ship and do what you think is right.
I read the Dallas police report on the mass shooting that killed Charles and Michael. According to it, the shootings happened at 3:30 p.m. on October 13, 2029. So we need to be at the scene before Pete Jensen shows up.
Understood. Robot, are you ready?
The coordinates for the time jump are set and the time device is fully charged. Engaging.
Wah. So what do you want for dinner?
How about some chicken wings and mashed potatoes?
We can. I'll get that. You start dinner.
Carrie and Debbie, what are you doing here? We thought you were in Oklahoma City attending the Green family reunion. And why do you two somehow look a lot older?
It's a long and painful story. Let us in so we can explain everything.
So you are telling us that in a few minutes Pete Jensen is coming here to kill us?
That's right. He has already gunned down his brother, so you two are his next targets. And your deaths affected so many other people, at least one of you were connected to. Debbie and I concluded that things would be better had you not died so violently and prematurely. So we traveled back in time to save you.
It must be Pete. It's past 3 p.m.
We can simply not answer the door, then.
Open this door. I know you two faggots are in there. Open now.
If you don't answer the door, he will try to break in anyway. So I will deal with him instead.
Carrie then pulls out the gun concealed in her purse and goes to answer the door. And a moment later.
Not this time, asshole.
What? And so Pete is killed before he can murder Charles and Michael.
Michael and they will call the police and tell them of Pete trying to kill us. And they will tell them I shot him. I'm sure they will believe it, since Pete was armed with a rifle and had already killed his brother. Thank you for saving us.
I just checked on Richard and Annika. They are both still asleep in their bedrooms. It seems they heard nothing.
Either Pete didn't know they were there, or he didn't want to kill them because they were children. But murdering anyone is evil.
Debbie and I will return to our native time and see if anything has changed. I have changed. My own memories have been altered.
Mine too. When we changed our history, we also changed ourselves. And I am so much happier as a result.
So you know already you did the right thing. Everything for you will be better now. And with that, Debbie and Carrie return to the year 2061 to enjoy life in the new timeline they created.
Yes. Don't let that asshole argue with you. He is a criminal, not a patriot.
Are they still broadcasting the trials of those surviving faithful remnant leaders?
Yes, and now it is Fred Owen's turn to be judged. Look at Mother Sandy take him on. Mr. Owen, how could you possibly think it was justified to try to overthrow a democratic government? Did you really think replacing it with fascism was anything remotely resembling American values?
What would you know about American values, atheist? You and others on the far left who were trying to make the rest of this country like you, and we weren't going to stand for that.
Spare me that phony rhetoric, Fred Owen. This is a public courtroom, not one of your ideological echo chambers. People like you fought to maintain slavery and white supremacy during the American Civil War, and that was just as evil as what you did. The Nazis fought to bring down democracy in Germany in the 1930s, and that led to World War II. Millions of people died because of those events. And millions more might have died because of you and your faithful remnants starting another civil war. Being an atheist, or a leftist, doesn't make one a mass murderer. When I was mayor of my town, I only killed one person. Because she was trying to kill me. The simple truth is that because of your bigotry, you can't live in a society in which people you despise for whatever reason are legally your equals. So you resorted to violence to attack those people.
You remember me telling you about Pete Jensen trying to kill me and Michael several years ago?
Of course.
It just occurred to me that if the faithful remnant had won the Battle of Austin, they later might have rounded up you, me, Debbie and Michael and had all of us exterminated for being LGBT. Pete Jensen was one homophobic terrorist. The faithful remnant was made up of thousands of people like him.
Right. And you said my and Debbie's older selves warned you of the threat posed by Pete Jensen. Clearly, your deaths badly affected me and Debbie in the other timeline, and they wanted to change things to make their lives better. Think about how horrible the Holocaust was. 6 million Jews were exterminated in Europe. And every one of them was a human being like you and Michael.
And over 70 million total died in World War II. All because of the territorial ambitions of Germany and Japan. War sucks. Bigotry sucks. I can only hope that in the future we can change ourselves so we never have to worry about bigotry, greed and stupidity like we and our ancestors have had to deal with.
Well, as long as we are alive, we can make a difference.
Yeah, just like Sandy Smith is doing, helping to prosecute those deluded terrorists.
Sandy Smith, Debbie's mother, is visiting her daughter in Dallas. They eat a meal together at a diner with Richard.
So you won your legal battle, just as the U.S. Army won its physical battle last year, eh? That's right. Fred Owen was convicted of treason and sentenced to 30 years in prison. He seemed so sure he would be seen as a patriot and set free, but I and the other prosecutors made sure the jurors knew how treacherous he and the others of the faithful remnant were. For example, I noted that Ted Wilson, who was known to have murdered his wife, my cousin Rebecca, right, and my niece, was allowed to be a leader among them. If they had a single ounce of integrity among them, that wouldn't have happened.
Grandmother Sandy, may I have some ice cream?
Sure, Richard. Go order some and tell the cashier to put it on my bill. What's wrong, Mother? It seems like only yesterday that you were as little as Richard is now. And I was as young as you now. I miss your father sometimes. And I know you will miss me when I am gone, and then you are an old woman too. It's the circle of life, Mother. It keeps turning for all of us, and that's just reality. Someday, I will bury you. And then much later Richard may have to bury me. But as we all live together, we can treasure each other and then cherish the memories afterwards. You are so right, Debbie. And you have certainly become a daughter any mother should be proud of.
It's time to work out the budget for the next month. Carrie, I checked the bank records and we have about $4,300 in our special home account, the one we use for home repairs. Michael, are there any repairs this house needs soon?
No, Debbie, everything in the house seems to be normal and in good order.
We haven't needed to repair this house in almost a year. Maybe we should empty that account and use it to provide for the kids.
I think that's too risky. You never know when we might need that fund for the house.
You say that so often, Charles. I think perhaps you worry too much.
What if we took out half of the money? About $2,000. I think we could still put that money to good use.
All right, but what would we use that money for?
I am eager to take a vacation. Have any of you been to Europe? We could visit countries like Italy or France.
Then let's put it to a vote. All in favor of us taking a trip to Europe this summer, raise your hand. And the ayes have it. Next month, we go to Europe.
I guess I can stay here by myself.
What do you have against going to Europe?
I used to live in Germany. I was treated terribly there, as both a gay man and a black person. I was in the US Army, but was kicked out after I was caught with another man.
I remember you telling me about that. I'm glad I stayed out of the military. That's stupid. Don't ask, don't tell. Policy of military recruitment was a disgrace.
All right, Charles, you may stay behind. Let's work out plans for our vacation.
As plans for a trip to Europe take shape, Charles and Carrie investigate a case of domestic violence.
So, Tomas, you say you started working as a waiter at a restaurant and soon after that, your husband beat you? Yes. He said I was flirting with a female employee and he saw me when he stopped at the restaurant to eat a meal, but I did no such thing. I'm gay, so I would have no interest in women, okay? Tomas was cheating on me. I saw him. So that's why I attacked him. And I have proof.
Even if you have such proof, that doesn't justify beating Tomas. That's why you are in jail and not him. He can take you to divorce court and get you condemned for domestic violence.
So if your girlfriend or wife cheated on you, you wouldn't seek to punish her in some way?
Well, there was a time when I did come close to doing that.
Actually, I wanted to talk to you about that eventually. While we were apart this past week, another girl contacted me. You remember when I said if you wanted to break up the romance between us we would still be best friends? Well, that applies to me as well as to you, so I have decided to hook up with the other girl.
And is this girl someone I know?
Laura Park, one of our classmates and a member of the Baptist Church turned UU Church. She just came out as lesbian to her parents after years of being afraid of them over her sexuality. And she wants to lose her virginity with me, because she credits me with giving her the courage to come out.
But if I had struck Debbie, who is now my wife, she wouldn't be married to me now and I would have lost the respect of her mother forever. Mrs. Smith, is Debbie home? I want to see her, please. I miss her.
You look like you're about to cry. Come here. I don't want to have more children, but you are like a second daughter to me. I can tell you that Debbie misses you too. She should be in her room.
I'm only violent when I have to be, not just because I feel like it. I fight to protect others from abuse, not to ever cause abuse myself.
I don't care if you have a cop's uniform. I've been wanting revenge on you for years.
You know you will be arrested and jailed for that, right?
Better me than you, James. You and Penny get out of here. I will stay here and let the other cops take me away. This way you two will be safe. And I'm really not done making that asshole suffer. The more I beat him, the better I will feel, even after I am locked up.
You are an abuser and that's why you must pay. Guard, let me out now.
So, what European country should we visit?
Wouldn't England or Ireland be obvious choices? We all speak English, so no language barrier.
Those countries are not known for being LGBT friendly. In fact, the United Kingdom has passed laws forbidding its citizens from coming out as transgender. After those laws were passed, hundreds of trans people began leaving the UK.
Seriously, as if the whole issue of Brexit didn't make the UK look stupid enough.
So this other girl was accusing me of cultural appropriation, whatever that means. Do either of you know what she means?
It is when a dominant class of people take certain things known to be associated with marginalized peoples and don't give those other people credit for inventing those things. Your hairstyle was invented by people from Africa, but you are descended from Europeans. So you were being criticized for stealing something belonging to my ancestors.
How does that make sense? Do you really think a race can steal a hairstyle? I think that's just silly. I have no problem with people of color, but they are making a problem with me. That's stupid.
You asked us what cultural appropriation is, and we told you. What you do with that information is, of course, your business.
I was just passing by and thought, as an African American myself, I'd make a suggestion. Maybe you could justify your hairstyle by explaining to others, especially other white people, why you appreciate African American culture and think cultures should bring all types of people together. The Japanese, for example, adopted baseball as a sport after World War II, while Americans accepted anime made in Japan as popular TV series translated into English and made popular here. Both national cultures were enriched as a result.
That's a great point. Thank you, Mr. Jefferson.
Carrie, are you familiar with a character on YouTube named Lizzie the Leslie?
Not really. Who is she?
It seems she was created to promote lesbians as people with rights and dignity over 15 years ago. Look at this video.
I'm Lizzie the Leslie and I'm out and proud. I'm Lizzie the Leslie. Let's shout it out loud. I'm Lizzie the Leslie. Come sing it with me. I'm Lizzie the Leslie and I like pussy. I'm a muff muncher. And I'm proud.
Huh, what the hell is a muff muncher?
It could be some homophobic slang for lesbians, sort of like the N-word is for African Americans. In any case, the animation of these videos is so crude, along with the lame jokes, that it is understandable why I never heard of these videos until now. They clearly had no popular appeal.
You were right. You know, Debbie, you are a much better role model for lesbians than that Lizzie character. You are both beautiful and act like a normal human being, not some crude stereotype.
Yeah, it seems we lesbians and other LGBT people have come a long way. We certainly don't need embarrassments like her anymore.
What are you doing eating candy in class? If you were going to do that, could you at least share it?
Chuck, I only have a dozen pieces in this sack. And I would normally share with my cousin Annika. Why should I give you any?
Because I asked politely and you were being greedy. Now give me a piece.
Stop that. Richard, go to the principal's office. You are not supposed to be eating candy in class anyway.
Richard, the principal told me what happened. Let me take you home now.
So what are we going to do with Richard? I think he should be grounded.
Wouldn't that make us hypocrites? I remember when we were teens together in high school and we had to deal with bullies and bigots among the students. Sometimes we had to fight back at them.
And I clearly remember what happened too. Ted Wilson used a baseball bat to shatter the left side of your face and jaw and your left leg. You could have died, Carrie. It took months for you to fully recover. I just don't want Richard to someday be as hurt as you were.
I understand. Do what you think is right, then.
Richard, Carrie and I have agreed that you will be grounded for 1 week. And we expect your fathers and Annika to enforce this rule as well.
What does it mean to be grounded, Mother Debbie?
You will only leave the house to go to school and nowhere else. Also, in the house you will be confined to your room, only being allowed out in the morning and just before bedtime to use the bathroom. Is that clear, son?
Yes, Mother Debbie. I will comply with your order.
I have warned him before about taking matters into his own hands instead of asking for help. Maybe now he will listen.
These lilies are perfect. I'm sure Debbie will love having them for her next modeling session. A few more weeks of growth and they will be ready to pick. Then. Hey, faggot. Faggot. Answer me, you pile of shit. That trollish neighbor again? Did you and one of your bitches let your dog poop on my lawn? If you are referring to Max, we never allow him to walk on your lawn, so the obvious answer is no. And I don't have bitches, you creep, so shut up. I dare you to climb over this fence and make me shut up, faggot. My name is Michael Jefferson, just as your name is Fred Mason. You are always saying the dumbest things to annoy me and others. Why don't you stop before you get into trouble? You homo wimps can't do anything to me. If you could, you would have done it by now. Besides, I have freedom of speech. I can call you whatever I want. Faggot. No one else is here now, so maybe I'll call for some outside help. Here I go. Jason, you remember when we were at my brother's funeral and you promised me and my mother that if we ever needed help, you and other members of your gang would respond to us?
Of course I do. I always keep my word too. What's going on?
Well, there's this neighbor of ours that keeps making homophobic and racist slurs at me whenever I go out to work my garden. He is even accusing us of things we have not done. And today he dared me to pick a fight with him.
Really? I wonder how eager he would be to fight with me and others of the Rebel Orange Men. Text me this guy's name and address, and then I will make some phone calls to others. I can assure you this matter will be dealt with.
Thanks, Jason.
Did you see what just happened? Several men wearing masks have broken into Mr. Mason's house and are beating him up.
Should we call the police? What if those thugs attack us next?
Oh, I'm sure that won't be necessary. If Mr. Mason is being attacked and not us, he must have done something to piss those guys off. As long as we don't bother them, they have no reason to threaten us, right?
You must know something we don't. And perhaps we should not bother asking about it, eh? I have an update about our vacation plans this summer. We will be going to Sweden, one of the most LGBT-friendly countries in Europe. Unfortunately, prices for flying to Sweden, even as economy class, are so high that we can only afford to send 3 of us on this trip. The question is, which of us 3?
I've already decided to opt out of the trip. And if Charles is not going, I will stay behind as well. So that leaves Richard and Annika as options. Then I am the obvious choice, since I am Debbie and Carrie's son.
Richard, be nice. I want the selection process to be fair. So you and Annika will have to throw dice to see who goes. The highest throw wins. Alright, I will go first.
You got 9. My turn to roll. I got only 3.
Then that means Annika wins. She will start packing now. We will leave tomorrow morning.
Father Charles and Father Michael, what am I supposed to do while my mothers and my cousin are away? It doesn't seem fair that we all can't go. You can't always get what you want, Richard. Maybe we can go to Six Flags over Texas. I've already been there more than a dozen times and... Hold on a moment. It's Diana.
Richard, I am planning to go on vacation this summer. I've decided to take another trip to Texas to see you again. And Aunt Suzanne has agreed to take me.
Awesome. I can't wait for you to arrive. Well, I'm actually glad now that I didn't get picked for the trip to Sweden. Because spending time here with the love of my life is better than me going to another country alone.
You see, Richard, things do tend to work out the way they should.
Debbie, Carrie, and Annika are now flying to Sweden.
Mother Jessica had ancestors who came from Sweden, as well as Norway and Germany.
Wasn't your grandmother Sims originally Catholic? I thought Sweden and Norway were Lutheran countries.
My great-grandfather Junker came from southern Germany, where there were many Catholics, and he persuaded my great-grandmother to become Catholic before marrying him. They were both still Christian, of course. My grandmother's becoming atheist shocked her parents, and they rejected her, but that only drove her into the arms of my grandfather Sims, who was raised Lutheran, but also became atheist after seeing how the so-called Protestant Reformation shattered the Christian communities of Europe. They then raised my mother Jessica with no religion.
That sounds like what happened to my own parents, who were raised Mormon and mainline Protestant, but also both became atheists as adults.
And even while raised with no religion, we have seen how religious bigotry corrupts entire communities. Thankfully, Sweden is a completely secular country, so we should have no problems there.
Ever since we started living together, you have never asked me about my own beliefs. I am actually still Christian and have no desire to be atheist like either of you. Sorry if that disappoints you.
That doesn't bother us, Annika.
Yeah. If we opposed you for your personal beliefs, we'd be as bigoted as some of our ancestors were. So we are not hypocrites, Annika.
No sooner do Debbie, Carrie, and Annika leave Texas for Sweden than Susanna and Diana Hudson arrive in Texas from Los Angeles.
How long before we reach the Sims Mackenzie house?
I estimate it will be about 30 minutes.
You'd better be right. The last time we took a cab to that house from DFW Airport, the cab driver that we were with took several turns down various roads to make our drive longer and cost us more in fares. If I catch you attempting that, you will get a beating, and no money at all. Got it?
I hear you, loud and clear. I will follow the exact route you showed me on your phone, Miss Hudson.
Diana, how are you feeling? I'm fine. I can't wait to see Richard again. And I know he is eagerly awaiting my arrival too. Thank you for keeping your word.
Well, you didn't have to threaten me. Not all cab drivers are dishonest scumbags like that last one you had.
Better safe than sorry. Anyway, here is your payment.
Welcome, Miss Hudson. Since Debbie and Carrie aren't here, I will give you and your niece permission to sleep in their bedroom while you are here, so there is no need to pay for a hotel room.
Thank you. You are most kind.
Wow, you have gotten so much taller since I saw you last. And you have boobs now.
Of course. I'm not a little girl anymore. I'm 15 now.
And I'm only 11. I wish I was your age, then we would be equals.
Who says we can't be equals now? Back when we were little, we were still 4 years apart in age, just as we are now. In a few more years, you will also go through puberty and we will be on the same page again. Even now, you are the same cute boy I fell in love with.
And you are the same beautiful angel I knew before. So what do you want us to do, Diana?
Well, maybe we can go to Six Flags over Texas. Or we can go to that town you were born at and eat at the Tuscany Tavern there. You pick for me.
Then we will go to the theme park.
Stockholm is such a beautiful city. I think if I was born here, I'd never want to leave.
Sweden does have a lot of awesome things in its society. If only America could be this progressive.
Sweden never conquered other peoples like some of the other European nations, and even Americans did, so maybe the Swedes never felt bigoted about others. Empire building both results from and causes more corruption and abuse from a state. That's what my uncles taught me. Debbie Smith and Carrie Sims, is that really you?
Yes. And who are you? And how do you know us?
I am lesbian, like you. I and others of the LGBT community in Sweden have been watching videos of you, Carrie, and your friends and relatives on YouTube for years, and we discuss you on social media. You have quite an amazing story.
Ah, thanks.
My favorite episode was the one in which Carrie took down Ted Wilson. I couldn't believe how strong you were. Did you really beat that big guy up? He must have weighed over 100 kilograms.
Well, because Ted was so used to being feared and respected, he really never had to use a lot of strength to defeat a determined opponent. That's why it sometimes takes only one person to stand up to a bully to bring him down.
You two are such an inspiration to us all. Thanks for coming here so I could meet you. Have fun. Wow. So you two are celebrities? We are just a couple of ordinary people who are in a position to do some extraordinary things. That could be true of almost anyone.
Thanks for agreeing to pay for everything. You know, for a celebrity who is running for public office, you don't seem to have much of an ego.
Well, having disabilities and genetic disorders tends to humble you. My Republican opponent is actually using my blindness against me. It seems like that whole party is run by bigoted assholes.
Of course. Hasn't that always been the case?
Richard, sweetie. Come and let me hug you. Oh, hi. I'm Florence. Richard and I are classmates. Isn't he the most adorable little guy? Of course he is. That's why I like him too. It looks like Richard has found someone else to be with instead of me. My parents were right to tell me not to waste any more time on him. That is to be expected, Diana. You are older than Richard and live in a different state from him. So naturally he would find someone his age and living near him to be more compatible. Just don't reject Richard as a friend over this. You and he should always respect each other's feelings even if you're not lovers in the future. You are right, of course.
Father Michael, what am I going to do? This is the 4th time Florence has tried to claim me as her boyfriend. I can't stand her. Just because her sister is a model at my mother's Aphrodite agency, Florence thinks she can be with me too. But she doesn't mean nearly as much to me as Diana does. Clearly, this is something you need to discuss with your mother Debbie when she returns from Sweden. I already told Florence no at school 3 times. Why won't she move on? Because she doesn't see you as a partner, but as a possible possession. Just don't give it to her. Remember what we taught you about bullies? This is another example. Once you start giving in to them, they will only hurt you more later.
Richard, I want you to always remember that no matter what you do or who else you decide to be with in your life, I will be one of your best friends. You deserve the best.
Thanks, Diana. I am so glad you will always be in my life. I still love you.
All right, Aunt Suzanne, I'm coming. At last, we are home. And we brought souvenirs for everyone.
Debbie, one of Richard's classmates, named Florence, has been repeatedly harassing Richard. She even did it at Six Flags right in front of Diana Hudson. What can be done to stop that nonsense?
Do you know what this girl looks like? And her full name? No, but I do. Her full name is Florence Henley. I heard her bragging several months ago about her sister being a famous model. And Richard told me of the harassment too. It seems the problem has gotten worse. Henley. Oh, I know who you mean. That model's name is Elizabeth Henley. She was telling me that she wants her sister to try to be a model too. But I doubt that will ever happen once I have a talk with Aphrodite Agency's CEO. If this girl Florence is already committing sexual harassment in grade school, her becoming a model as an adult would only make things worse. We should never tolerate or reward such behavior. Florence, you stay away from my cousin Richard. And get this through your thick skull. He will never be your boyfriend. Why not? I am way prettier than most girls here, including you. I'm sure once he is a little older, he will find me irresistible. Then I will make you unpretty. Ugh. You. Bitch. Avenging Cousin 1, Narcissist Bitch 0. Annika McKinsey, what have you done? Yikes. It's Principal Lennox. You are coming with me, right now. Detention the rest of the day, followed by suspension from school for a week. But totally worth it.
Another day, another case of gay bashing. But this was against a couple of lesbians.
So these horrible men came after me and my partner after we came out of a party we had been attending for my sister's birthday. They called us a couple of dykes and beat us. Took our phones too and smashed them. My sister had to call for help as we both were bleeding on the ground.
Did you see those men well enough to identify them? How many were there and what did they look like?
There were 5 of them, and one of them was one of my brothers.
Your own brother attacked you?
Mindy got by far the worst of it. Once she recognized one of the attackers as her brother, she lunged at him and the two fought bitterly while the others held me back. Then more people showed up and the attackers fled.
Your partner fought for you, just as I would have done. I hope you never forget that, Ginny.
Indeed, she is truly the best. I don't know what I would do without her.
Based on these reports, it seems this was a dispute between siblings that turned extremely ugly. The brother was likely upset that he wasn't invited to the party. It may have been a coincidence that the ones attacked were lesbians.
So you wouldn't class this as a hate crime?
I think the whole concept of hate crimes is pathetic. You say you want all people to be equal, then turn around and demand that minorities get special treatment when criminals attack them. Make up your minds, liberals.
Charles, I cannot stand that homophobic Detective Gaston. He once again refuses to take cases of gay bashing seriously.
And that is why I decided to found Queer Avengers, to do for the LGBT community what Dallas law enforcement often won't. If cops are willing to look the other way when a couple of lesbians get beaten, they shouldn't care if we end up taking justice into our own hands.
Exactly.
You wanted to see me, Claudette? Yes. As you know, my mother died several years ago and in her will I succeeded her as CEO of Aphrodite Agency. But now I have been diagnosed with breast cancer and will need to undergo a mastectomy to remove it. I'm also getting married and my fiancé has offered to cover the cost of the surgery. He has 5 children from a previous marriage and he wants me to be a stay-at-home wife to care for his children, who range in age from 6 to 15. Their mother died in a car accident 3 years ago. Aren't you a feminist? It sounds like he is taking advantage of you to force you into a traditional life as a wife and mother. Well, I do love him and all his children and they love me too, so I can accept this. As long as they treat you well, I guess. Anyway, what does that have to do with me? I have chosen you to take my place as CEO of this agency. You are already known to be a capable leader, as you proved when you helped me found it to begin with, so it is only natural that you be my successor. Congratulations. You will start your new job tomorrow. Thank you. I am honored. I will miss you, of course.
Private Jack Watson, This is to inform you that your application to be honorably discharged from the U.S. Army after you were pardoned for your past crimes by the President of the United States has been accepted and processed. Starting tomorrow, you need no longer wear that uniform, and you may leave this base and will no longer be subject to military authority.
Thank you, Captain. While I didn't enjoy being in the Army, I did appreciate the opportunity to help bust the faithful remnant outside Austin last year. I just have to figure out what to do next.
We will conduct the discharging ceremony for you first thing tomorrow morning. And good luck.
Steve, do you want me back as a manager and chief bouncer at your nightclub?
George Anderson has been filling that position in your absence. Your best bet would be to go to Dallas and apply to be a bodyguard for models at Aphrodite Agency. Since I and Denise still own that agency, I can write a letter of recommendation for you and give it to you before you apply over there.
Steve Miller, I have been asked to take over as CEO of our modeling agency.
I know. Claudette and I discussed that yesterday. I also just got a call from Jack Watson. He is leaving the Army and will need a new job. Would you hire him to be a new bodyguard for models?
Sure, just send him to me. Anyone who saved the life of Carrie is always welcome to work with me.
Debbie has taken over as CEO of Aphrodite Agency. Soon afterwards.
I just came back from a wonderful vacation in the Bahamas. Only to learn that while I was gone my sister Florence was badly beaten in school by your niece Annika. I and my parents will be suing over this. The beating was not unprovoked. My son Richard told me that Florence was repeatedly harassing him at both school and over the summer, and he told me and Annika about it. While Annika may have gone too far, you could try being the bigger person by not suing us over it and instead be content with us grounding Annika for a while. And also tell your sister to stay away from my son. What the hell? You want to get fired from this agency? Funny you should mention that. I guess you didn't hear that Claudette Rouge has stepped down and I am now the new CEO here. So now, I have the power to fire you. Get out. Richard?
Hey, I figured that since you are stuck in here because of me, I might as well share in your punishment.
That's very kind of you.
I should have been the one beating up Florence. She ruined my relationship with Diana, and I'll never forgive her for that.
Boys are not supposed to beat up on girls. That's considered cowardly.
That sounds like a sexist double standard. Just promise me one thing, Annika. From now on, let me fight my own battles. You don't need to protect me from every little thing that threatens me. I need to learn to stand up for myself.
As you wish, Richard.
Good work, Richard. I sent him in there to talk sense into Annika. Hopefully, Annika will never get into trouble again.
You actually beat up one of your models and fired her? That's right. She was already planning to sue us over what Annika did. But this whole thing started because of Richard. Nobody messes with our son and gets away with it. If you were going to court, you could have your mother represent you. Indeed, I'll ask her about that. Of course I will fight for you and my grandson. And at no charge. So how do you want to proceed? I will offer a settlement to pay for the medical bills. In exchange, I want a restraining order banning any further contact between Richard and Florence. That should put an end to the trouble. Agreed. Let's work this out.
You say you want to join Queer Avengers as its third member?
I do. After what happened to me and my partner, I want to help protect and avenge others.
I'll think about it. But a job like this can't be done by just anyone. Do you have martial arts training?
I do. I have a black belt in karate.
Then let's keep talking. I am here to be hired as a bodyguard. And here is the letter of recommendation from Steve.
Very well, You were hired.
So, who will I be assigned to protect first?
You can start with protecting me, since I am concerned I may be threatened. I just fired a model and she came across as quite entitled even before I got rid of her, so better safe than sorry.
Wouldn't Carrie be the one to protect you?
She has her own responsibilities. I can't expect her to be around me 24/7.
All right, Mindy, let's see how tough you are. As a member of Queer Avengers, you may be expected to both dish out and take beatings from criminals and abusers, just as I Am Charles must do.
I am ready. Do your worst.
You asked for it. All right, I am convinced. You are indeed fit to join us. Congratulations.
So, when may I start?
Next Monday. Normally we only work Monday through Friday with just us two, but with you at the third member, we can likely do work on Saturdays too.
I am eager to help dish out punishments on people like the ones who abused me and my partner.
Just remember, Mindy, if you ever decide this sort of work is not your style, let us know. You can quit and we won't hold it against you.
Maybe not, but have there been others that have tried out for your PI agency?
No, you are the first.
Just give me a chance to prove myself. I just want to do for others what you did for me.
So, how did you end up here?
My name is Aaron Carpenter and I was thrown out by my parents after I came out as gay. My family is Mormon.
Another case of Mormon bigotry. I wish that overgrown cult would just die out already.
Yeah, anyway, that's not the issue I need you for. My boyfriend, the one who persuaded me to come out to my family, said he would pick me up to have me live with him. Then suddenly he demanded I send him money before he would pick me up.
That's never a good sign. Have you ever given him money before?
No. How can I send him money if I don't even have a job?
Have you even met this guy for real? Or did you only contact him via the internet? Where does he live?
He actually lives in Chicago. I'm guessing he asked for money to pay for his trip to get me.
So let me get this straight. You had a relationship with a guy you never met and he lives in another state, and he has the audacity to ask you for money.
That sounds like a scam. I remember when I was a teen and I tried to hook up with a guy that looked like a teenage boy and he turned out to be a much older man. The internet is full of gold diggers and predators.
Indeed, we Queer Avengers can only operate in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, so if this scammer is in Chicago, he is beyond our reach.
Just be thankful you didn't send him money you need to survive. But there is still the issue of your parents rejecting you.
Maybe you can get help from First Unitarian Universalist Church of Dallas. Go visit them next Sunday and see if one of its members can help you get a job. Then once you make some of your own money, you can find a place to live. Here is its address.
Thank you. That's better help than what my online friend offered me.
Debbie, I promise you, I will never take you as my wife for granted, nor will I forget how blessed we both have been to have mothers who loved and supported us as LGBT people. So many others aren't as lucky as us.
We just have to be as loving to our son Richard, our niece Anika, and other children in turn.
At this time, Elizabeth Henley, I am prepared to offer you and your sister a settlement.
What sort of settlement?
The terms are simple. Debbie will pay for your sister's medical bills after she was beaten in school by Anika McKenzie. Among other injuries, 2 of Florence's front teeth were knocked out and her nose was bloodied, though not broken. She also suffered 2 broken ribs. That's what the medical report I read said, right?
Yes, and it will cost hundreds of dollars more to replace those 2 lost teeth with artificial implants. Debbie should pay for those too.
I can agree to that. But there is one condition I insist on.
And what is that, Debbie?
I want a restraining order placed on Florence forbidding her from coming within 50 meters of Richard. What? You can't do that. If that happens, I will have to change schools. I won't see my friends anymore. That's the price you must pay for repeatedly harassing my grandson. He was not interested in being your boyfriend, but you wouldn't take no for an answer.
Must you be so harsh? They are just kids.
If people don't learn to respect each other's personal autonomy as children, they will likely grow up to be abusive adults.
I'm sorry, Florence, but we may have to take this deal. Or do you want our parents to go broke?
Oh, no, I never thought this would happen. So what will it be? Do we have a deal, or shall we battle it out in public before a judge and jury, where everything is on the record?
If this does go public, my sister's reputation may be ruined, even if she does go to a different school. All right, you have a deal.
Yes, we can all move on now. This sucks.
Richard and Annika arrive home from school.
Do you want me to talk to Debbie about it?
No, let me deal with this. It's my problem.
But I'm responsible for it too. I beat on Florence to defend you.
Ahem.
Both of you can talk to me about the problem. Then we can solve it together.
The other kids at school have found out about Florence being forced to change schools to stay away from me. And the girls say I hurt her by not wanting to be her partner, while the boys are asking if I am gay because I don't seem to like a hot girl like Florence. Not that being gay is bad, of course, since my fathers Michael and Charles are, but I know I am not. And Diana Hudson is way more beautiful than Florence. If I am to be with any girl, it would be her. We have a history together.
I remember when I was a little older than you. Boys started hitting on me, and since I wasn't yet sure of my sexuality, I didn't know how to respond. I just knew I didn't want any of them.
Hey, cutie. Want to come by my house sometime? I can show you some interesting things.
No thanks. I'm fine.
Wow, you are beautiful. Do you have a boyfriend?
No. I am only 12 years old.
Then it would please me to be your first.
And it would please me for you to get the hell away from me.
Hey, the rock band Disturbed is playing at the arena in Dallas this weekend. Want to come?
Oh. Who else is going?
I have 2 tickets, so it would be just you and me.
Chris, aren't you 16? Find someone older to date.
Debbie Smith, I hear you are the hottest girl in the school. Want to be mine?
Ted Wilson, I hear you are the biggest bully in this school. And you are fat too. You repulse me. It was actually a relief to realize that I was lesbian and that the feelings I had later for your mother Carrie were natural and beautiful. Even before we became lovers, as my best friend she kept boys from bothering me. You stay away from Debbie. She will never be interested in you. She only likes girls. I did try flirting with other girls before I chose to be with Carrie. The first time, when I was 11, it didn't end well. Wow. You are the most beautiful girl. May I kiss you? Ugh. Stay away from me, pervert. Why hit me? You could have just said no. It's okay to make mistakes, as long as you learn from them and do not repeat them.
You mean like Florence did with me?
Exactly. Give it some time, Richard. I'm sure in a few weeks the other kids will forget about you and Florence and move on to the next big whatever to gossip about. And even if they don't, I can always help you. I know you said you didn't need my help, but you can still ask for it anyway. Just as Carrie fought for Debbie. So I will fight for you. Speak of the devil.
Oh. And what's that in reference to?
Oh, I was telling the kids about some of the issues we dealt with at their age. Anyway, let's have dinner.
It is LGBT couples night at the Sims McKinsey house. Every month, the adults at the home throw a party for themselves and other LGBT couples they know.
Mother Jessica and Mother Lucy, thank you for coming here. I haven't seen you two in almost a year. We have missed you too. The last time we saw you was right after you volunteered to join the town's militia created to defend Austin from the faithful remnant. We were both worried you might be killed in the battle. There was no real danger. Only the U.S. Army clashed with the faithful remnant and only 300 soldiers were killed, compared to over 4,000 of the enemy. Jack Watson later told me it was no contest, because the faithful remnant knew nothing about battle tactics, so it was just a matter of gunning them down like in a shooting gallery. And yet those idiots actually thought they could start another civil war? I've heard of insanity, but that was beyond ridiculous. Right-wing media has been constantly feeding those that watch or listen to it lies about how the people have a natural right to rise up and overthrow a government they disagree with. I can only assume it was that way in the 1850s, leading to the first American Civil War.
But what is wrong with overthrowing a government that is corrupt and abusive? That's exactly what the Declaration of Independence says the people should do.
That's true. But a government granting rights and freedom to LGBT people like us is the polar opposite of corrupt and abusive. Think of it this way. When I lived with my parents, my father tried to rule the family with an iron fist. His word was law. Even after I realized I was lesbian, I was fearful to come out because I had already heard him slam LGBT people as perverts and infidels. But at the same time he kept asking me when I would start dating boys. Finally, I broke down to my mother and told her the truth. I was never interested in boys, only girls, and I couldn't change myself. My mother then told my father. My father said I was responsible for tearing the Park family apart, but I know that's a lie. It was his rejecting of me being lesbian that ended my parents' marriage. And to this day, I have never forgiven him for that. It's really shocking how people can deceive themselves into blaming the victim. I remember when my mother was forced to kill Diana Kelly when they fought over a gun. One of my mother's political opponents tried to smear my mother over that, saying Diana Kelly was a victim of my mother's desire for revenge over the breakup of my parents' marriage, which Diana Kelly did indeed cause. When you don't know the whole story, you may side with the ones who are evil and seek to hurt others. Oh, here comes Michael.
I got the pizzas ready to serve everyone. Let's eat.
Principal Lennox, you are in deep shit with me right now. I am Debbie Smith, Annika McKinsey's aunt. What's wrong? I thought the problem with Florence Henley had been resolved. Yes, but there is something else. Yesterday Annika had her first period, and when she began to bleed between her legs, she rushed to the girls' restroom to get a tampon or max pads. And there were none. The only thing she could do is stuff her vagina with a lot of bath tissue, resulting in a terrible mess. It was so embarrassing for her. Isn't it your responsibility to provide her with feminine hygiene products? You should still provide something for girls like Annika to use. You can't always predict when a first period will come. I mean, you're a woman, right? What was your first period like? I had mine at age 13. But then I was in high school. It seems that younger and younger girls are hitting puberty. It makes no sense. Early puberty is nothing new. Girls of any age may start having periods. In fact, in the 1930s, there was even a shocking case of a girl in Peru who actually got pregnant and gave birth at age 5. We need to be prepared for all possibilities. I understand. I will have the girls' restroom stocked with tampons next week.
Good morning, class. Today, I will be assigning all of you to each write a 500 or more word essay about a chosen topic of American history. The times may be from the founding of the United States in 1776 to the year 2000. This project will be due in 2 weeks.
Mr. Barry, why those time restrictions? And why must at least 500 words be written? Are you going to count every individual word?
Ugh. You come at me with the most annoying questions. The time restrictions are to prevent you from writing a paper about prehistoric times, or about events that happened last year. And the 500-word limit is about you making a reasonable and fairly detailed effort.
Are you trying to get yourself sent to the principal's office again? Why don't you just shut up before you really embarrass yourself?
I have no problem following rules, but their purposes must always be explained.
So my wife was telling me about this practice called swinging. Apparently it is when two couples agree to trade sex partners. What about it? Well, Ginny thinks your wife Debbie is really hot. So tell me, how is she in bed?
That's really none of your business, Mindy. If you and Ginny are curious about Debbie's sex acts, you should ask her directly. I don't go around talking about her like that.
You mean you are not curious about what other couples do, including me and Ginny?
Not in the slightest. As long as Debbie and I are happy together, it doesn't matter what others do.
Oh, so she's very good in bed. Ginny wants to ride her soon. And I don't mean like a horse.
Mindy was telling me today that her wife Ginny is attracted to you. Ginny even wants to have sex with you. That creeps me out. Why would she even talk like that to me?
You can just tell Mindy and Ginny that I have no interest in hooking up with anyone other than you. You really are the jealous type, aren't you?
Damn right I am. For my sake and for the sake of our son, Richard, we must never do anything to risk tearing us apart. We need to completely trust each other. Quite simply, you shouldn't do to me what your father did to your mother.
You are right. Our loyalty to each other is the most important thing. Ginny, I want to make it clear to you that I have absolutely zero interest in having sex with you. My marriage to Carrie is about being faithful to her and no one else. Is it clear?
Absolutely. I promise it won't be brought up again. I apologize. What the hell were you thinking, opening your big mouth about my interest in Debbie to Carrie like that? You know how embarrassed I feel now.
I thought they were open-minded people, and they should know of your interest in swinging.
That was not for you to do, idiot.
Ginny goes to visit the Sims McKinsey house.
Hello. Is Debbie here now?
No, she is working at the Aphrodite agency offices. Ever since she was made its new CEO, she has had to go there every weekday instead of once or twice a week like before. Why are you wanting to see her?
I want to talk to her about what just happened between me and Mindy. I kicked her out of our apartment.
You did? Why?
Well, if you don't know about the issues already, I guess there is no need for you to learn about them. Some private things need to be kept private, right? But Debbie is involved, so I need to see her to clear things up. Oh no.
You'd better have a damn good reason for showing up here, after what Mindy told me. And where the hell is she? She didn't show up to work with me and Charles this morning.
Probably because she was afraid of what you would do to her. I mean, you just attacked me. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I was wrong and so was Mindy.
Carrie, are you sure you are not overreacting because of a misunderstanding? I mean, what did they do?
Ginny was wanting to have an affair with Debbie and Mindy told me about it. Then Mindy asked me some very personal questions. What the fuck is wrong with you? Have you no sense of shame?
That's exactly what I said to Mindy before I broke up with her. I never thought she would talk to you or even Debbie like that. That was absolutely not her right to do. And yes, you do have the right to beat the shit out of me for what I wanted to do. Debbie is your wife and you are entitled to defend your relationship from anyone who might threaten it. Even me.
Very well. I accept your apology. So where is Mindy now?
She is staying in a motel a couple of kilometers from here.
Yes, Michael?
When Charles and I first got married, he was very much the jealous type, like you are to Debbie now. He even beat up on guys he thought were flirting with me. I finally told him that if he didn't stop picking fights with other guys because of me, I would leave him. Because I was afraid he would also be violent towards me. I've had to learn to trust Michael just as Debbie and Carrie have had to learn to trust each other.
And maybe you and Mindy can learn to deal with each other's issues and learn from your mistakes. You both just need to respect the personal boundaries of others. If you can both change, you can save your marriage.
All right. I will go talk to Mindy. Does she still have a place among the queer Avengers, or will you fire her?
Carrie, what do you think we should do?
We have all made mistakes in the past. We can keep Mindy working with us if this issue is never brought up again, right?
I agree. Let's move on from this. Go find your wife and leave us in peace.
Thanks for your help, Charles.
No problem. And it was totally your call. If you had said the opposite of me, I would have fired Mindy right then and there. In our business, we need to have people with us we can trust.
92, 93, 94, 95. I just need to come up with 500 words to describe the flight of John Glenn as a Mercury astronaut in 1962. Maybe I can add some details about his past achievements to explain why he was chosen to be an astronaut to begin with. Like him being a war hero in World War II. That alone made him a great man. Here we go.
What do you want, Ginny? To humiliate me some more?
No. I just want you to come home now so we could work things out. Carrie, Michael, and Charles talked me into seeing you now.
If you really want us together again, you are going to have to stop talking about wanting to have sex with Debbie. You know how humiliated I was over that? I should be enough for you. I told Carrie about your feelings and she reacted just as I expected. And then you attacked me over it. If you didn't feel comfortable enough to discuss it directly with Debbie, why talk about it with me at all? I felt you deserved to be shamed over your wanting to cheat on me.
I understand. And I promise I won't talk like that again.
Yeah. I want to make damn sure of that. Now we are even. And be warned, if something like this ever happens again, I will divorce you. Got it?
Yes, Mindy. Let's go home.
There. 515 words total. A complete report on John Glenn, his orbital flight in a spacecraft, and his background as a Marine Corps pilot.
I'm impressed. You should certainly get an A on that report. Now it's my turn.
Hey, didn't Uncle Charles say we shouldn't be playing games on that?
Yes, but I've seen him, Uncle Michael, and Aunt Debbie playing games on it. Why should they be allowed to do something forbidden to us?
You have a good point. Proceed.
And now it's time for all of you to turn in your history essays. Richard, what were the sources for your essay?
I mostly read the Wikipedia entry about John Glenn. I also read about his orbital flight in a book about 1960s space missions.
Then I'm going to have to give your essay an F. Wikipedia is not allowed as a source for an essay in my class.
What? But you never had a rule like that before. Why make it up on the spot to disqualify my work?
I'm not making up anything now. It's been a rule in this class since the beginning.
Well, I never saw such a rule in writing. This is not fair.
Silence. The decision is made. You are getting a failing grade and that's it.
Richard is right, there was never such a rule before, and I also used Wikipedia as a source for my essay. Are you going to fail me too? I will tell my parents about this.
Put me in detention if you want, but I'm not backing down. I worked hard on that essay and even counted the words to make sure it met the 500-word limit. And Mr. Barry can't just tell us about us not using Wikipedia as a source after the fact.
That's right, he shouldn't have done that. And more than half of the other students in Mr. Barry's class also used Wikipedia. That's why most of us got up and walked out. Mr. Barry did us all dirty. We won't return to his class until he apologizes and gives all of us the fair grades we deserve.
You should know that my grandmother is a brilliant lawyer. If we have to get her involved in this, I guarantee she will exterminate you and Mr. Barry in a lawsuit on behalf of not only me, but all the kids in the class that were wrongfully failed. So, What are you going to do about this?
Richard and Katya, as principal of this school, it is my duty to not only discipline students who behave badly, but teachers as well. Now I will hear from Mr. Barry about this. Richard Sims and other students are threatening to sue us over what you did. So tell me now, was there a rule about not using Wikipedia as a source in essays?
Well, yes. It was something I said on the first day of class.
You fool. No wonder the kids don't remember it. You should have put that rule in writing and given that writing to every student so there would be no question about the matter. So now, I order you to reverse your decision and give passing grades to Richard Sims, Katya Jones, and all the other students that used Wikipedia as a source. And don't ever let an incident like this happen again. Is that clear?
Yes, Principal Lennox. I will comply.
After Debbie and Carrie, along with their son Richard, left the town in East Texas to live in Dallas with Charles McKinsey, Michael Jefferson, and Annika McKinsey, their mothers considered how they might fill the void left behind in their lives. Eventually, they came up with a solution, a weekly game night at the town's Unitarian Universalist Church. So every Saturday, they and others that are invited take part in the event, as an alternative to the Sunday morning services that Sandy Smith and the Sims couple no longer enjoy.
Okay, let us begin. Rolling the dice. I have 9, so I move 9 spaces.
My turn. I got 7. Moving 7 spaces. Wayne, you may go next.
Thanks, Lucy. I also have 7. So my piece moves to the same place as Lucy's.
Then Lucy's piece is returned to start. Oh, hello, Carla. Were you wanting to play? We already started. That's okay, I am here to bring you some bad news. Carlos can't make it because he and his wife were in a car accident this afternoon. The other driver was going over 50 miles per hour and slammed right into them. The Hernandez couple did not survive. Both cars were totaled. Oh, no.
I am so angry, Kelly. Even today, I was tempted to just let that stupid man die. That should have happened instead of the Hernandez couple dying. But as a medical professional, I can't let my personal feelings cloud my judgment like that.
At least with a blood test confirming the other driver was intoxicated, I can arrest him and see that he pays for what he did. Oh, Sandy. What brings you here? I got a call from Mr. Lionel asking for legal advice and representation. He said he was in a car crash. Well, he may certainly need it. He was driving drunk and hit the car belonging to Mr. Hernandez. And Carlos and his wife both died at the scene. So Mr. Lionel will be facing 2 counts of manslaughter. So, maybe you could pass on this case and let this guy twist in the wind instead? Let me at least interview him to get his side of the story. And you remember that I was a defense attorney long before I became mayor of this town. Even murderers are entitled to legal representation in court.
What am I going to do? My wife was already threatening to leave me because of my drinking. Now I am told I killed 2 people. Even the doctor treating me looks at me with disgust.
You need help, and the best advice I can offer you is to own up to your mistakes and seek treatment for your alcoholism, including attending meetings like those of Alcoholics Anonymous or some other sobriety group. If you agree to this, I will represent you in court for free and work out a plea deal so you can avoid a massive prison sentence. Or you can reject my advice, get a different attorney, and try to fight the manslaughter charge, and probably end up worse off. So, what will you do? You have 1 minute to decide.
All right. I will take the deal. I can't go to prison. Then how could I provide for my children?
Maybe you should have thought about those kids of your own before you got behind the wheel of your car while drunk, you idiot. You know how many kids injured in accidents I have had to treat? That's one of the worst parts of being a doctor. Having to deal with the aftermath of what people like you cause.
Mr. Lionel, you are under arrest now. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say in my presence can be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to be represented by an attorney. If you can't afford one, the court will assign one to you. Do you understand these rights?
Yes, officer. I will go with you now.
Yes! Another victory.
Richard Sims, I thought we told you and Annika not to play games on the desktop computer.
You did? But Annika told me that she has seen you and other adults playing games on that same computer. Why forbid to us something you do?
Young lady, you are in trouble. You told Richard about us adults playing games on the computer, but you didn't tell him the whole story, did you?
What do you mean, Uncle? I'm sorry, Richard, but clearly we should have explained the reasoning behind the rule properly. It is never acceptable for parents to make rules and give orders to their children without reason. Because I said so is not a valid reason, period.
So what was the actual reason, Mother Debbie? Can you please tell me now?
Annika was playing this game that had a lot of microtransactions in it. In essence, it was a pay-to-win type of game. So one day she swiped one of my credit cards and used it to pay for dozens of such microtransactions. She ended up costing me over $200.
Wow! So she is a thief. How could she?
That's exactly what Charles was afraid you would say. Knowing how attached you and she are to each other, he didn't want her reputation ruined in your eyes. But clearly that was the wrong approach. We should have told you the whole truth from the start.
You and your big mouth, Annika. We weren't going to do this before, but now I think you should be forced to pay back all $215.35 that you stole from Debbie.
But Uncle Charles, how can I pay back the debt? You only give me a $10 weekly allowance.
That's right. So for the next 21 weeks, you get no money from us. Deal with it.
Debbie, maybe we can allow Richard and Annika to play games on the computer, as long as they never have to pay for any microtransactions. We can approve any game they start to play in advance, and as soon as we see that it requires microtransactions, we stop them.
Mother Debbie, you have my word. I will never pay for anything in order to play a video game. And I will make sure Annika doesn't either. Didn't she commit a crime?
Yes, she did, but as a child, we can forgive her. Just don't ever do that sort of thing as an adult. That could get you sent to prison.
Annika has been grounded again over the issue of her and Richard playing online games without permission.
Richard?
Mother Debbie told me everything. About how you became addicted to an online game so much that you stole Mother Debbie's credit card to pay for armor and weapons so you could win more battles. So tell me, was it worth it? To win more battles with strangers while losing the trust and respect of those you live with?
No, it wasn't. I was wrong and now I will be literally paying the price for my mistakes.
I don't think grounding Annika for 21 weeks is the answer. What if we made her do a job that made her money outside the household? Then she might pay off her debt to you faster.
What sort of work could we have her do? Most employers won't hire anyone below the age of 16.
How about a babysitting service? Don't girls her age normally do that?
I have it. I read last week that the Dallas Unitarian Universalist Church is in need of new workers at the church's nursery. We could ask Annika to do that sort of thing.
You think the church would agree to having a 12-year-old working there?
We can find out this Sunday when we go there. Excuse me. What? Oh no.
What is it, Debbie?
It's a message from my mother. She said that Mr. Hernandez and his wife were both killed in a car crash caused by a drunk driver. The driver was taken to hospital and then to jail.
Oh, shit.
Who is Mr. Hernandez?
Carlos Hernandez was the principal for many years of the high school that Debbie and I attended when we lived in that town as teens. And he was a good man, worthy of our respect. Obviously we should attend his funeral.
I will ask Mother Sandy to send us details about the funeral. Oh, she is already sending more messages. The funeral has already been scheduled for this Wednesday at 2 p.m. at the town's Catholic church.
Are you sure you want to go? I have never set foot in a Catholic church before.
Nor have I, but I guess there is a first time for everything. Now my phone is being slammed with many more messages. From not only my mother, but Mr. Bentley, James, and Simon Wilson. They say they are going to Mr. Hernandez's funeral and asking if we are going too.
Tell them all yes. Sorry, Charles, but we need to do this.
No complaints from me. We will see you and Debbie on Thursday.
Dear Diana, ever since that night that you saved my grandmother's life despite you also being in danger, I have looked up to you. And all the times we have been together have only made me more certain that you are the one I want to spend the rest of my life with. Sure, there are other girls here in Texas I could be with, but none of them are like you. I would hope you would someday move to Texas to live with me, but if I have to move to California instead to live with you, I will do it. Seeing you occasionally is simply not enough. Every time we part company, my first thought afterwards is to hope I see you again. I would do anything with you. Climb Mount Everest, dive into an ocean, watch animals in the jungle, or just do household chores. Your existence makes me happy like nothing else I can imagine. So, Diana Hudson, I want to someday marry you. I promise to be yours forever. I love you. Sincerely, Richard Sims.
Oh my God. If he finds out I actually have a boyfriend here, that will break his heart. What should I do? Aunt Suzanne, Richard has sent me a love letter in the mail. He has actually proposed to me with it. But I have hooked up with another boy, named Jason, instead because he was available to me and Richard wasn't. I shared my body with him like I never did with Richard. So what should I tell Richard? Isn't Richard only 11 years old? And you are only 15. You don't have to make such a commitment to each other while so young. Just tell Richard that your parents insist that you wait until you are both legally adults before you become engaged. Whatever you do, never mention Jason to Richard. Not unless and until Jason also asks to marry you. If he does, you can tell Richard that your parents want you to marry Jason instead. I'm sure he will accept that. I hope so. I remember when I was dating Debbie when I was still living in Texas. She and I truly loved each other, but she also loved Carrie. So she tried dating both me and Carrie. A love triangle. Yes. But that arrangement did not last. Eventually, Carrie made Debbie break up with me. That broke my heart for a while. But then I found happiness with you instead. And you made me happy in turn. Exactly. Now give me that phone. Hello? Diana, this is Aunt Laura. I have a question. If you were to get married now and could marry either Richard or Jason, who would you pick? Which one could you imagine spending the rest of your life with? I would choose Richard, of course. Then you clearly made a mistake being with anyone else. I would dump Jason now. Even though I lost my virginity with him? I don't think that matters. Sex is only a matter of one's body. You and Richard are connected by your hearts. That's also important. I will consider the advice of both of you. Thanks. I just hope Diana makes the right decision. Yes. And whatever she decides, we should support her. Her happiness matters. Exactly.
In the year 2061, at the Houston airport, How much longer must we wait? Debbie and Carrie have been gone for almost a week. Time travel being what it is, we can't assume the same amount of time has passed from their point of view. Ah, I think we are picking them up now. Yes. It's the USS Sandy. It's landing now. Charles and Michael leave the control tower and wait outside the USS Sandy where it has landed. And soon. Welcome back, you two. And congrats on the success of your mission, obviously.
Are you really the same Charles and Michael we met in the year 2029?
Indeed we are, and we clearly remember meeting you two that years old ladies. Your counterparts that were native to this timeline suddenly disappeared less than a week ago, so we knew what must have happened and we came here to wait for your return. So, what do you remember of us?
I remember everything. And now there appear to be two completely different sets of memories in my mind as well as Carrie's. Perhaps we somehow merged with our counterparts.
I guess that's just the weird nature of time travel. Anyway, let's return to Dallas to resume our lives.
Thank you for letting me stay here with you and Michael, Uncle Charles.
No problem. I was so disappointed in that guy cheating on you and then his father firing you for divorcing his son. You deserved better.
Well, at least Aunt Debbie and her Aphrodite agency threw me a lifeline by offering me a modeling job. So I am quite happy now.
In the year 2065, Debbie and Carrie are throwing a party at their home in Dallas.
So you, Carrie, and James just left him behind in the distant past to die all alone? Wow. You don't think he deserved that? Of course he did. I just didn't think you would do that sort of thing. Not on my own, but Carrie talked me into it. And it actually does feel good to get cold, hard revenge on an enemy sometimes.
Even when Jan and Mac were both living with us, there was absolutely none of that stupid. Why can't you be like me? Or why can't you be like your brilliant sister? Bullshit.
So you and Penny agreed from the start to let Mac develop at his own pace and make his own choices. That's commendable. If we weren't going to let those teens be true to themselves, we never should have taken them from their original parents in time. I just hope Mac and Anna are doing well in the Stone Age. Going through a pregnancy has made me appreciate all the more what my own mother went through twice with my brothers. I wish she was still alive so I could thank her again for all she did for us.
You can still make an example of yourself for others just as your mother did. And to think at one time I could have lost Diana forever. I'm just glad I reached out to her and won her back to me.
You were always the best person she could have been with, and I'd like to think that was due to how we raised you, Richard. And it seems fatherhood suits you wonderfully too.
Don't get me wrong. I didn't need to be a mother, but now finally having a daughter of my own has opened my heart more than I ever imagined it would. Richard and I are truly blessed beyond description now.
Nobel Prize winners and loving parents. What more could one ask for? Sometimes just being alive and being able to make a difference is its own reward. I am certainly proud of my own achievements too, even if they don't make me famous.